Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Cleburne. I thought we could sit down and do this project together. I have this beautiful slab of cedar. It's all nicely sanded down. It's been de-dusted. There's nothing on it at all, so it's still going to be quite porous. And I want to put a glaze coat on it. I'm going to use this by Famo Wood. And it says it's a high gloss finish, crystal clear, and great for tabletops, frames, projects, and blah, blah, blah. And it's resin and hardener, 1:1. And this we measured as 7 square feet, but this box covers 6.4 square feet. So I do have a backup. And I had this that I bought the first time that I thought was gonna cover it, but that's not, no way that's gonna cover it. So how you tell is, like, this is a pint, so it'll cover 4 square feet. And then this one is a quart. Oops, better get on my side. And this covers 6.4 square feet. Okay, so you want to work in 1/8 inch resin at a time. So I was reading online, it said to get some of these little spongy brushes to do your edges. You got to have a stick because you got to stir it 2 to 3 minutes. You have to have a container completely clean to mix it in. You have to do equal parts resin and hardener. It's best if you use a digital scale. You can eyeball it, I suppose. And I needed something to spread it, like if I was cardboard. I have not done a project this large before. I usually just do pendants with epoxy. And also, if I had my way, I'd be putting little butterfly wings on the corners. However, this is going to be in the rental, and I don't know how many people might be vegan and might find that offensive, although I found the butterfly. I didn't capture the butterfly. But anyway, I'm not going to add anything to it. We're just going to use just the natural wood. I ain't going to lie, I'm a little nervous. My husband worked very hard on sanding this down and making sure he blew it off with the air compressor. Also, you don't want to use tacky cloth on this because you don't want any kind of oil. But if you did want to put some kind of oil on it, like some sort of linseed oil or whatever, you have to have, I believe, 2 coats of polyacrylic, water-based polyacrylic on top of that. And of course, you'd have to let everything dry in between. I'm not going to do that. My worst fear is that this is porous and bubbles are going to come up out of it. And I don't have a heat source to pop bubbles. So I'm going to pray to the spirit of the trees once again, ask for gentle guidance, and hopefully this turns out nice. I really hope this turns out well. All right, let's get started. Let's mix equal parts resin and hardener, and I'm going to measure it, and then we'll start pouring. So I'm just gently trying to like smush it out without creating a lot of bubbles. Just very gently. I should probably be wearing gloves. Got epoxy my hands. I suggest you wear safety equipment. I'm just gonna keep going. All right, so we did the first one. And if you look sideways, it's kind of easy to tell where you're thick and where you're thin. So I'm gonna just mix up about half as much more and do the edges. It's kind of soothing and therapeutic, actually. Just try to be as gentle as possible to create the least amount of bubbles. Yeah, that's pretty. All right, I'm gonna go all the way around like that. All right, so that's coat number 1. I think I mentioned before, it said to only work in 1/8 inch pourings. So I did the edges. And I'm feeling pretty happy with that. If you kind of get down and let the light reflect, you can tell where your low spots are, like where that dark line is. That keeps sucking up the resin. So I'll have to go over that with a second spot when it dries, when this one dries. I'm not sure if you're supposed to put a fan on it or not, but it's so humid right now that I think I'll leave the AC running, and then I'm gonna look it up and see if I can have a fan on this overnight. That's a very pretty piece of cedar. That was $40 at one of the local vintage shops. But the nice thing is, oh, and the resin kit that makes a quart, that was $24, I want to say. But the nice thing about that vintage shop is that she has offered to put up flyers advertising our place. She said she always gets shoppers who ask, is there anywhere nearby to stay? And she tells them not that she's aware of, and they have to go all the way back 20 miles to the last town they were in, which is a very crowded town. So she said, oh, she's so excited to be able to tell her customers about our place. So she's going to put up a flyer of our place. All right, I'm going to clean up. Sorry, my finger hit the button. I'm going to look it up and see if I can have a fan on this overnight on low. I did sweep really well the floor before I ever started, so there's not going to be any dust particles, and that would be the only thing I could think of. So I don't know. I'll look it up and see if a fan would be more problems than it's worth. Okay, I looked that up, and no, we should not put a fan on our epoxy projects because it's not about evaporation, it's about a chemical reaction. And so all a fan is going to do is cause ripples and uneven drying because it'll push some epoxy away from the fan, obviously. So I'm just going to leave it sit here overnight. I think I'm going to let the AC run because it feels less humid in here to me when the AC's on. So I'll leave the AC on low overnight and come back and check in a little while. And I'm kind of excited about this project. That looks so pretty so far. So far, so good. All right, let's see what else happens. So we're at about 18 hours of cure time, and you actually need 24 hours to reach 99% cure, but that still depends on what you're pouring on and how thick you poured it and the exact epoxy that you use. There's so many variables. So this would be when I would decide if I want to sand all this down with a 180 grit. Was it 180 grit? I'm not positive on that. I'll have to go back and check. A very fine grit. And then I'd have to use isopropyl alcohol over that. And then I could pour a second coating on it, another 1/8 inch. But I don't really think I want to do all that because, like, why? Why would I? I just don't feel like I want to mess with with something that's already this beautiful. Why go any further than this? For me. Like I said, it depends on your project and, the results that you're after. So it did seep down into the cracks and it left that little crevice there, but I'm okay with that. And then another one here. These are both, this is the back of my piece. So I just don't, it's only gonna hold a electric coffee pot and electric kettle. So I think I'm okay with this. So I've got to give it a full 72 hours to completely cure, and then we're going to attach it to the wall using L brackets, and for extra support underneath, a couple of very large dowels. I have to decide what to do about the dowels, if I'm going to paint them to match the floor, if I'm going to seal them with an oil-based sealant, or if I want to just epoxy those as well. I don't think I want to epoxy them. I would probably seal them with an oil-based sealant, but that's yet to be done. So I'm going to call this project done, this countertop done. I'm very happy with the way it came out. I like it so much. Oh, I want one of these in my cabin now. Hopefully this video inspired you to step out of your comfort zone, try something different, be bold, and just go for it. And then if you make a mistake, it's always a learning curve, right? It's always a learning curve. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me on this video, and hopefully soon we'll be able to reveal the cabin. Much, much love and light. Many blessings.